Well, alright, hello Blaine. This is Phil, and this is your private video for being one of the highest level patrons for the month of February, and I thank you very much for that, and I apologize that here we are halfway through March before I had a chance to really sit down and do this. I did get your questions, but it was on the late side because apparently something's going on with Patreon where I'm not getting all the messages. In fact, just as I started to film this video for you, someone tweeted me and said that they also were a $50 patron and they never got their video made, and they had sent me questions. I was like, I never got them. So that kind of, I don't know what it is. We're going to work the bugs out, you know what I mean? But thanks for being patient. I am finally here doing it for you. And I very much, first of all, I want to say this. So thank you so much for being a long-time viewer and fan and dedicated the way that you have been and sticking there with me all these years, you know what I mean? All the different things that I've gone through and all the different places that I've put my content and all the different experiences that I've had. It's people like you, the long-time viewers who are liking the content, continuously watching and supporting me, that are keeping me going. You know, when I hear a story like yours, someone who's not exactly in the the best situation in life, and the fact that I'm able to entertain you and help you through a tough day is a great thing, and it's what keeps me going. You know what I mean? Because I'll be honest, I get so much negativity from these people on the internet for various reasons, and I'm not going to get into that because that is obviously not the purpose of this video. But it's good to finally get some reassurance and positivity from time to time, and you're one of the people who is doing that for me. So thank you very much for that, okay? Now to get into particulars about your questions, number one, your first question that you had for me was about travel, and undoubtedly this was one that, for people who are longer time viewers and or fans who want to have a chance to maybe meet me in person, this is a big one, and I understand that because there was one point, probably 2 or 3 years ago, where I was starting to tour a convention circuit, right? I was doing things in the Northeast United States with places like Too Many Games. There was the one year that I went to MagFest down in the Maryland, Virginia area. And then a couple of years ago, I actually went to DSPGAMING Convention in Texas. So there was a chance for me to kind of travel around a little bit and get a little bit of exposure outside of just where I was focused there in Connecticut. And I enjoyed doing that, I'll be honest with you. I did absolutely 100% enjoy doing that. However, a few things have happened. First of all, I don't have as much money as I had back then. Back then I was, I was single. I was living in Connecticut in my own place. I didn't have a lot of bills and a lot of stuff to think about. And all the money that I was bringing in from YouTube was kind of like, wow, spending money, you know? And that was kind of a dumb thing to do or have that mentality, because I should have been saving that money, you know what I mean? But I did save a lot of it, but some of it I was like, I'll blow it. So I would blow, money to go on these trips and go to a convention or whatever. And it was cool because it was cool, content for people on the channel, but it was also a lot of money that was out of my pocket for those things. And at this time, I really don't have it, okay? I'll be honest with you. I'm in this situation right now financially. Today I spent most of the day doing my taxes. And seeing with the situation that I'm in, I actually have my fingers crossed right now that the United States government doesn't send me a giant tax bill and say that you owe us this much money because you underpaid or whatever. When you actually own your own business like I do, it's very different from someone who maybe has like an office job or a 9-to-5 job on salary where they can pay their taxes over the course of the year. I don't do that. I guesstimate what my taxes are supposed to be, and then I mail them in, and sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong, and it's very hard to get it right. And in addition to that, right now in particular, with the fact that I just moved and I have a ridiculous amount of debt that I kind of racked up during this move, I just don't have the funds to do it. In fact, this last year, the only travel that I did was basically for the business or to move here, right? That was it. The only travel I'm doing this year is later this year. Leanna and I are going to be flying to the East Coast for her brother's wedding, and that's it. And we've said dedicated 100%. There's no way that we could travel any more than that. We even wanted to go on vacation, and we said we're not going to do that because right now we got to focus on not spending money, on putting the money towards the smart things, right? Now I fully know that there's people like you who unfortunately are not able to be mobile and to get out, and as you know, I am attending Emerald City Comic Con in a week or so here, and I know that it's very hard for you to get around the country. I completely understand that. I'm not saying that I'm not going to be traveling in the future. In fact, if I do plan on attending conventions, I'll be honest, I'm probably just going to be a normal convention attendee. I'm not going to be someone who's looking to have a vendor booth set up and looking to have a panel anymore, because at this point, I'll be honest, I don't think it's worth it. It's a lot of work to get that going. It seems like at the very few conventions where I actually got it going, it was great, but it was so much work to do and so much stress that at this point I think I would rather just say I just like to go as a normal attendee, walk around and have fun, rather than worry about I have to be here and here and here. You know what I mean? Now don't worry, that doesn't mean that if I attend a convention that I wouldn't be willing to meet up with fans and viewers, okay? I did see that you even offered in your question to say, oh, what if fans were to finance the trip? Here's the thing. Let's say, for example, next year, okay? So next year, again, maybe my finances, aren't looking too good. And there is a demand from my viewers, gee, we wish you would go and travel and attend conventions and stuff. It could actually be like a Patreon goal level, right? Where Phil raises a certain amount of money that he will commit to going on a trip to this certain convention. Now, of course, it's kind of funny that I say that because the cost right now to travel is pretty exorbitant. Just the cost, I'll give you an example because I know this because I was just doing my taxes. The cost to fly from Connecticut to Seattle and back this past year was over $1,000 just for the plane tickets. We're not talking hotel costs, we're not talking rental car, we're just talking the plane tickets themselves. That's how expensive they are. And so because of that, for me to finance a trip based off of Patreon, I would have to do like a really big stretch goal, like maybe a $2,000 a month goal, and then $1,000 of that would go towards the trip, and then I could afford it, all right? I probably would not take any direct donations. Like if someone were to say, oh, I'll send you $100 if you can come out to Texas or Atlanta or wherever, I probably wouldn't be willing to do that because that's kind of being forward, you know what I mean? Like me accepting large donations in exchange to go a certain place. And in addition to that, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Blaine, I have to think of this as a business, you know what I mean? And for me to take time out, let's say I take 4 or 5 days out of working to go to a convention just for a few people who can be there because someone paid for it, that's kind of messed up, and it's also a disappointment to the viewers who are waiting for me to do new content at home, you know what I mean? But it's not to say that I'm not interested, it's certainly not to say that I'm not going to be involved in possibly attending conventions in the future. And like I said, local things here are easy. So this Seattle Emerald City Comic Con is a no-brainer. Of course I'm going to that. Right now I'm looking to expand a little bit more, possibly to like Oregon, which is just to the south of me, Oregon, I don't even know how to say it. And I am looking in the future to maybe even go up to Canada, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump across the border for me right now, for where it is. So there's a possibility that I will be locally doing stuff, and yes, long term, maybe I'll look to attend other conventions, but I'll be honest, right now, at least in the near future, it's not a concern, because right now I gotta be more mature adult about it and say, I don't have the money to blow, I don't want to rack up my finances any higher than they're already racked up in the money that I owe for moving here, and right now I need to focus on working, saving money, paying down what I owe, you know, I'm just paying my taxes, you know what I mean? But it is a consideration for the future. Your second question, Blaine, was actually about Persona, and listen, I know you're a huge fan of Persona. Your mom has told me that many, many times, and I'll be honest, it's a series that I'd be interested in trying because I am a big fan of JRPGs, and this is one of those tried and true, you know, big fan base JRPGs that I've never actually experienced. It actually became popular during that era of time during the 2000s that I really wasn't into gaming that much. I even know they even offered to possibly send me a PS Vita TV so that I could hook my PS Vita up to my TV and play it. However, I heard about problems with that thing, that actually it's hard to capture video from it, and right now I really wouldn't want to accept a donation like that and then go to use it. Next thing you know, I can't even do it. You know what I mean? The good news is I did dust off my Vita. I don't have it next to me here. It's downstairs. I dusted off my PS Vita this past week. I'm going to be using it to do remote play for certain playthroughs. In fact, Bloodborne next week, I think, is one game that I'm going to be doing remote play for. And that's good news for upcoming JRPGs and things that other people might be interested in watching me play. I may be able to grind other times when I'm off camera, okay? In regards to you nominating Persona, you already did. I saw that you did on the forums, and actually people started talking about Persona as well in regards to that because of that, so good job with that. I do see that you've been liking other people's posts for games that you potentially would probably want to see as well. So in regards to nomination for that Patreon's Choice playthrough, you've done everything correctly, don't worry, and I will actually in the next week be consolidating what people nominated and picking maybe like the top 10 things that I would like to do or that are more reasonable for me to do. I just saw some people nominating some stuff on there that's like rare, or there would be no way for me to really capture it, and obviously that I can't go along with. I have to find things that I can easily capture, but I'm going to be doing that and creating a list, and then people will be able to vote. And when I say people, I mean patrons, and you're one of them, so definitely keep your eyes and ears peeled the next week or so. I'm going to be finishing that up, and I'll be publicly releasing that so that you can have that, okay? Now, you asked me, do I have a game that I hold in my heart as like in such high regards like you do with Persona? And the answer is, I would say for me, probably the games that are more near and dear to my heart are the games from the era where I was a young adult, growing up, becoming like a teenager, and these were the games during the transformative era of, say, the NES into, say, the Super NES and Genesis. So some of the games in particular would probably be Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, and of course Final Fantasy 4 and 6, one of which, Final Fantasy 6, I've already done a full playthrough of. I already did Link to the Past and Super Mario World, actually. Those are games that, like, when I play them, I can't help but have fun playing them, you know what I mean? And I love seeing other people experience those games because they're such good games, at least in my mind. I kind of have that golden haze over everything I see when when those games, and I see their flaws, and I kind of forgive them because these are the games that I grew up with that I, like, really just, wow, those are kind of the epitome for me, you know what I mean? And I am interested in eventually doing a Final Fantasy IV playthrough. In fact, I said it may be one of the final playthroughs I ever do, if I ever were to end doing this. So, but yeah, I'd say those are the games. And of course, I have to say classic Street Fighter. And what I mean by that is like Street Fighter 2 through Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, maybe to some extent Street Fighter 3, and a few of the Alpha games. In that era, that was the era of arcades that I grew up in, and I loved going to the arcades and playing those games head to head, and then I traveled the country playing people from all around the United States in those games. So those games are, like, to me, the classics. And it's funny because then I play Street Fighter 4 and I kind of get that feeling, but not really, because then I see all the changes they made to Street Fighter 4 and I'm like, it's more of a watered down version of that game that I love, you know? So that's the games I think I would probably hold in that high of a regard. And then your final question was actually, do I ever get tired of gaming? And that is a great question. Let me put it to you this way. Do I ever get tired of actually playing the games and having fun and sharing those experiences with everyone? The answer to that, quite honestly, for the most part, is no. At least when I'm playing games that I'm enjoying. And what I mean by that is in the past few years, there have been some really big budget titles. Just recently, Evolve, The Order 1886. You know, in the past few years, the games that should have been good, Assassin's Creed Unity, and they just ended up being duds, and you're like, I kind of feel like there was an era or a time when you could grab one of these games, play it, and you could trust that it was good, and today it's almost like you can't trust it, right? You buy a game and you play it, and now it's kind of a crappy dud, and those are the things that I don't like, is when I'm really looking forward to something, and I go to play it, and then I'm disappointed, and that kind of gets me disheartened to try another game. What really does get me worn out, because I know you said you ever get tired of playing games, the playing of the game is not the part. It's really the work afterwards. It's not that I can just play the game and enjoy it. Now I've got to set up uploads on YouTube. Now I've got to babysit those uploads to make sure that they actually go live and that they don't screw up. I've got to have all this, you know, bills and money and all that stuff, all the financials in the back of my head that weighs me down. You know what I mean? Like, since I started doing this in 2010 for my full-time thing, I really haven't had the opportunity to not feel that weight on my shoulders. You know what I mean? Like, the picking up the controller and playing it, I love. That's my favorite part of the whole thing, and that's the reason I'm doing it. You know what I mean? But then it's all the afterwards, oh, here comes the money, I got to attribute it to this bill, and then to this bill, and then, oh, this didn't get as many views as I would like, so do I continue that project, or do I go with this project? Gee, I really feel like I'd like to do something creative today, and then it doesn't work out. Here's a perfect example. This one is actually, I haven't really talked about it publicly, so you might like this. This past week, I had a schedule laid out for this week, what I wanted to do. And per fan feedback, like viewers directly were going nuts and saying, no, Phil, don't do what you thought you were going to do. Don't play Battlefield Hardline. It's just another generic FPS game. We want to see you play different stuff. So please play the Final Fantasy 15 demo, which you didn't even mention you would play. So after listening to all the feedback, I was like, okay, I'll play, you know, what they want. And that day, I dropped everything. I played the demo when it came out this past Tuesday. And by the way, I actually enjoyed the demo, so I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad that I listened to viewer feedback about that. And then I felt inclined, like creatively, I felt this feeling. I want to do a video where I talk about my feelings about this demo. I just feel like I want to do it now, because I just played it, it's fresh. I'd love to do this creative video where I give my feelings and I have the video footage playing over it, and I want to do that. And immediately people, well, why aren't you doing a second stream? We want more gameplay. Why can't you do a second stream? And that's where I start to get burnt out, is I want the freedom and the ability to make my own schedule and play what I want to play whenever I want. And if I have a creative force like that, like I really felt like making that video, that I could do it, and I don't get a ton of backlash, oh, you should have been doing this, or you should have been doing this. And even now we're later on in the week, and I'm getting all these people, well, you should have played Battlefield Hardline, you know, that's not right. And I'm like, I can't do everything. The worst times for me are the times when there's too much to do and I'm only one man and I can only do a certain amount in a certain period of time. You know what I mean? That's really when I feel burnt out. Back in November, when I was playing those 5 games at one time, that was tiresome. Right now, I'm starting to feel it, but because I didn't play Battlefield Hardline, I'm not feeling too much of the burden, and it looks like most people are saying don't play it, play the other stuff, and that might make sense, and that might be a good opportunity for me to focus on stuff and then maybe later on go to Battlefield Hardline or just skip it and focus on other things. And that's when I get burnt out, when I don't have full control, or no matter what I do, it seems like people aren't fully happy because they're all looking for their own personal likes and agendas, which is fine. That's how people are. Everyone likes something different, but it's hard when I can't please everyone. You know what I mean? Alright, so I hope that this private video answered a bunch of your questions. And again, if number one, I did hear that you are interested in getting a Death Face t-shirt. Please let your mom know to please send me the info if you do. I can definitely get one out to you. That's cool, because not only I was going to send you a shirt in December and just never got to it. I just sent you that shirt, and since you did donate that amount, if you did want to get the Death Face shirt, absolutely I'd be willing to send that to you. And in addition to that, again, if there's more information on Persona, if there's more information on me traveling for conventions and such, I'll make that public. And definitely, thanks a lot for donating. I certainly don't expect for you to be donating that amount every month. What I've said to most people is this: donate the $1 or the $5 levels and just stay consistent, because the bottom line is that's what's going to make me successful. Not that a short amount of people or a small amount of people donate a ton of money at once and then stop. No, it's going to be people who consistently donate $1 or a couple bucks here, and the next thing you know, I have a bunch of people doing that little bit, and it adds up, and that's how I'm going to be successful with Patreon. So thanks a lot, Blaine. I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate your being a fan and being as dedicated as you are and sticking there and being positive with me. And thanks a lot for your donation. And I'll see you later, okay? Thanks a lot. Peace out.